Good morning. We have made it to our last lesson of 9.9, and much like 9.8, because this topic is something that looks different and is probably pretty new to people, we are going to split this into 2 days. So we're going to practice this for 2 days. And today we're going to look at transforming formulas. So let's jump in with some bell ringers or some warm-ups. Start by solving each equation. See what you remember how to do, and if you remember how to solve equations, pause the video, and when you come back, we will check it out. All right, so if we're looking at this, what we should do is say what's happening with our variable. So we talked before about putting a box around it. We kind of stopped doing that because we got pretty comfortable, but the box is going to come into play again today. So P is being divided by 4, so we have to do the opposite, and the opposite operation is to multiply by 4. Multiply by 4. So here, that's going to cancel out 4 and 4, and we get P equals negative 32. Here, y and 8 are being added, so we have to do the opposite and subtract 8. And we'll get y equals negative 20. All right, that's a brief reminder of how to solve one-step equations. Let's see what we've got now. So a formula is a rule that shows the relationship between two or more quantities. Now you guys have had some formulas that you've had to memorize this year so far. What I would like for you to do is to pause this and go over to Classroom. There is a Google question for you to answer. And the question is, what are some formulas that we have used so far this year? Put a couple in there that you can think of. Don't just put area. Like, be specific and write out what is the specific formula that we have used. So take a minute, go do that, and then come back and we'll continue on. All right, so we are going to look at how to solve a formula for a specific variable. And we'll talk tomorrow more about why we do this, but for today we're going to focus on the how do we do this. So there are 2 big steps. 1, put a box around the variable that you're solving for. This is going to be important for helping keep your work separate because there's going to be more than one variable in our work today. Then you follow the same steps for solving as with an equation. This is a really important little side note here. I think it's a very easy way to check your work to make sure that you start and end with the same number of variables. If you start with 3 variables, you should end with 3 variables. And that's a quick way to check. All right. So solve the following equation for y. For x. Sorry, I was looking at the equation. So we need to solve for x. This is the variable that we're solving for. In other words, what this means is get x alone. Okay. Now we're not substituting anything in for y, but I'm just going to look at x, and I'm going to pretend actually that y isn't there. I'm kind of ignoring it. I'm going to say, what do I get rid of first, 2 or negative 4? Well, thinking back to solving equations, we always do adding or subtracting first. Pretty much, almost always. There's a couple of special cases, but usually, plus, we are going to add or subtract first. Now, over here, negative 4 and positive 4 cancel out. That makes 0. But over here, it's going to look weird because we cannot do 4 plus a variable. So we're going to write this as y plus 4 equals 2x. And we're going to just keep that like that. That's fine. Now, I'm going to bring my box down with the x. What do we need to do to x to get it alone? Well, 2 and x are being multiplied, and the opposite of multiply is divide. Now, I can't just divide one thing. I have to divide everything. So I'm going to flip this around so that the x comes first. X equals y plus 4 all over 2. And that would be my final answer. And remember, I said that there was a quick check. Do I have a y in my answer? Do I have an x in my answer? I've got x, I've got y. All right, so I'm good. That's a really quick and easy way to check that you're not losing something. All right. Solve the following equation for b. So I'm going to put a box around the variable I'm solving for. And then I'm going to look and see what I have. I have a negative 3 times b, or I have b plus c. So I'm going to take care of this plus c first, and I'm going to subtract it from both sides. Now over here, c minus c, that would just cancel out. And over here, we would just have a minus c equals negative 3b. Now we have negative 3 times b. I still have my box around b. And so I'm going to now divide by negative 3. Divide everything by negative 3. And I'm going to write my final answer as b equals a minus c over negative 3. There's actually another way that you could write this. If you think that you can figure it out, send me an email with what you think it would be. Might be able to give you a point somewhere for something. See what you can come up with. How else could we write that? But this is how I'm going to end our problem and say that we are done at this point. All right, try this one. Pause the video, come back, and we'll check our answers. All right, so we need to put a box around w, and then we've got 2 times w, or 2l plus 2w. And because all of this is being added to 2w, I'm going to subtract it. Oops, sorry, that should be a 2. So I'm going to get p minus 2l equals 2w. And then I still need to get w alone. So I'm going to take the opposite operation, which is to divide, and I'm going to divide everything by 2. And I'm going to get w equals p minus 2l equals 2. And that would be my final answer. All right, one more. Solve the following equation for t. Again, I'd like it if you can pause it and try it. This one's a little tricky though, so be careful. All right, so I'm going to put a box around my variable. My variable is t. And a lot of people see this and they want to say, oh, it's dividing, so I just multiply both sides by d and I'm done. But that doesn't work, because if we multiply by d, it's not t divided by d. If I did t divided by d, and then I multiplied by d, that would cancel those out, and that would work. However, that's not what we have, so don't do that. Instead, what we have to say is, when the variable's in the denominator, we first have to get it out of the denominator. So I'm going to multiply by t, and that's going to cancel out those t's, and it's going to move it to this side. tr equals d. I'm still trying to get t by itself, so now I'm going to divide by r. Those r's cancel, and I get t equals d over r. And that's it. All right, head on over to Google Classroom and try your assignment. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will be happy to help. Thanks, guys.